Hello, Ruben Leverage here, the Eco Gypsy. Welcome to my channel. One of the nice things about living how I live and living where I live is you bump into and meet like-minded people. Today's video is with a friend of mine who is a wood carver and a sculptor and a painter, and he's a very passionate and talented fella. It's going to be a real pleasure just to have a look at his workshop today, have a look at some of the work he's up to. I'm not sure what to expect, but I'm pretty sure, knowing Mark, that there's going to be a lot to do, so we may have to split the video into one or two, but follow me today and we'll have a look at this fella's place. Right, so I'm here with my friend Mr. Goldsworthy, Mark, and we're going to show you some of the stuff he does as additional to the carving of the wagons, which we're going to take you through and show you some of them as well, but also some of the other stuff he does. Like I explained earlier, he's one of these sickeningly talented people that seem to be able to do most things, and we're going to show you some of his sculpture stuff now, and get Mark to explain a little bit about what he does. So I'll poke this in your face. And can you you obviously come from, got a university background, and with your...
Well, I went to art school.
Went to art school.
Yeah.
Is like carving your first thing, or was that painting first and then you've got into the... I mean, a lot of people are going to ask me how you got into the wagon carving stuff.
Yeah.
How does that evolve? Does that come through from the painting, and then obviously you do a lot of John's wagons, but you've obviously got a background knowledge of it all?
Well, I went to college, and we had to do some work in the painting department, the printing department and the sculpture department, and then choose where we wanted to stay. And although the sculpture department wanted me to be in there, I thought, well, I don't know that I'm going to get enough done in the 2.5 years remaining to make it worthwhile. I'll go in the painting department, and that's where I ended up. And when I came out of there, I was making a living selling paintings for a lot of years. In about the 90s, the fashion changed, so it became a lot more conceptual art. So all the galleries in London started not wanting what I was doing, and then moving over to conceptual art. So I was a bit stuffed for an income, but someone up at Norfolk District Council asked if I could saw a little carving that I'd done in my spare time, and asked if I could do a big one, and of course I said yes. so that started it off.
Like a commission sort of thing.
Commission.
Yeah. I mean, we will just go around with the camera in a bit and look at some of the stuff in the studio, because I think I really like some of the simplest statue stuff you do. I think it's really, really nice. But so how did that then evolve into the wagons then?
Well, I was doing, for a while, I was doing a lot of commissions, big commissions, the wooden carvings, and that was all going well. And then the chainsaw carvers took off. So suddenly everyone wanted chainsaw carvings, which produced massive carvings at a fraction of the cost, and that income stopped. So at that point I happened to meet John at a fair, and I just went up to him, and he was travelling in the wagon, and I said, well, if you ever want anyone to do any wagon carving, give me a call.
Simple as that, yeah.
And he did. So from then on...
And you've never got away since.
No, but we've done a lot of wagons together.
Yes.
You know, for a lot of years I've sort of done most of the woodwork and then the carving, and he's done the painting.
I think some of the, having been following John for quite some time, and I've seen a lot of his earlier wagons, his works come on leaps and bounds, because he's got the better wagons to paint now, and the environment he's painting is better, but also because of what you're doing as the base for the wagons. Obviously, if you're starting off with a pretty top-notch starting point, the end result's going to be pretty fantastic as well.
Well, you've got to remember that, I mean, we've both got a lot more years doing wagons, so we've had a lot more experience with different sorts of wagons, and you get to know the different makers and the way things are done.
Yeah.
And even now, I can now look at a wagon that's been repaired in the past. I can usually guess who's repaired it.
Yeah.
And different styles of carving. I can see where people have used the same carver. They might be different makers, but they've used the same carver, and you get to understand the way the carvings are done. And once you start getting that experience, your knowledge seems to expand sideways.
And then obviously
rapidly.
the work then comes with that, doesn't it? Because now John's getting asked to do the top stuff. You're getting asked to do the top stuff.
Yeah. Well, we've been working on some really top, some of the best wagons that have ever been produced.
Yeah.
I mean, when we started, some of them were all right, but some of them were pretty crap.
Yeah. Is that a technical term? But yeah. No, I mean, there's obviously with the Mona Lisa and with this brush wagon now and them sort of things, that's the top, isn't it? That's about as good as you're going to find.
I mean, I've never worked on anything like the brush wagon before. I mean, that's unique. Yeah. And then the Mona Lisa, I mean, that didn't actually need too much work done because that had been well looked after.
Yeah.
We did a tong that needed an awful lot of work on. That was in the workshop for over a year. Yeah. Where I just went through sorting everything that needed sorting before it left. Yeah. So, and that was a really nice wagon in the end, but that took a lot of time to bring it round. Yeah. And again, what we were talking about earlier is we're going to have a little look at one of the wagons you've been done, which I actually did have on a previous video, and it'll just show people quite what's involved. I mean, I would know, and people, most travelling people would know, but for anyone who doesn't know about these things, once you start getting into it, it's very, very time consuming, isn't it? You've got to have patience and you've got to have deep pockets.
Yeah. Right, we're going to have a little look at some of this sculpture stuff behind you.
This is what I call the stone carving shed. So this is where all my little stone carving gets done. Usually at the end of the day when the light day, because I can't work carving in artificial light because the shadows get thrown all wrong. So at this time of year, you usually finish in about 4 o'clock. Yeah. And then I sort of just beetle in here and I sort of play around with the stone carving until about 7 o'clock, or I go home.
So are these commissions, or are these just stuff that you do?
Just stuff that I like doing. Please myself.
I like these little characters, I must admit. I've seen some stuff that you've done previously.
Well, I've got all sorts here, but he's quite fun.
What's that carved from?
That is a bit of soapstone.
Right.
Yeah, this is a bit of portland, so she's quite nice. Yeah. Nice twist on that. That's a bit of reclaim stone. Then this is actually a cast of a stone one that I've got up the other end. But you can see if I decide to make alterations, I draw on it and then I'll leave it in here and then have a go at altering it. Yeah. So it's very difficult to know when anything is ever finished. So most of the stuff in here might still get reworked. Yeah. So the place where I store the finished stuff is up the other end of the shed. So I'll take you a look at that. Yep. That's the trial. Right. And then I was doing a bigger one over there. So usually what I do in the evenings is play around with a little bit of stone, working out some ideas. Oh, I see. Yeah. So you're now working through these. Yeah, but that's much harder. It's stone, you see. Yeah. And I suppose by doing it that way round, you're limiting your cost as well, because you don't want to be carving into big stuff with no idea. No. Well, I mean, having said that, I mean, the granite, it's a big lump, isn't it? Yeah. So it just takes a long time. So this is a bit of stone. I was going to do something, and then because this is a bit of reclaimed stone from the Naval Hospital, this has been in the water. Right. And obviously something's been burrowing into the stone. Yeah. So the stone was quite big, and I chopped away to try and get rid of it, and it's not going to get rid of it, so I had to alter the design. So I'm just playing around with the idea of turning that into trees with the figures around the bottom. Yeah. So the idea comes from the stone. Yes. Yeah. No. So it's not always that you have the idea first and work it on the stone.
Yeah, that's a nice way of working as well, isn't it? Makes it a bit more fluid.
Yeah, so I mean, this little stone, you know, I've just had a look at that, and well, it looks a bit like a dog scratching its head. So I might get that out of it.
Right?
Not.
Yeah. No, lovely.
But you look at the shape of the stone, and then you try and find
the
minimum amount of work to get the image out.
Right, we'll go and look at some of the finished stuff as well. He's nice, Mark.
Oh yeah. He's
in wood, obviously.
Yeah, that's a bit of Hollywood. So it really has a nice quality. I mean, it's a bit dusty in here, but as a quality, it's almost like ivory.
Yeah, nice bit. So yeah, that's the starting point there.
And then this one, can you see what it is?
Oh yeah, I can see a cow's head there. Yeah.
It's turning around to lick its haunch.
Yeah.
But the idea is to keep it as a rock.
Yes.
So that you see the form only secondary.
Yeah.
It's just a rock.
Yeah.
And then the other two are over there, so...
Yeah, I quite like this.
This is a whale, so I sort of like tried to simplify the shapes, just because by working the granite, it won't allow you to be too detailed.
Yeah.
And the bear, I mean, I keep looking at it, I think I've got to do another bit to that. And then, you know, I set the stones up and keep looking to see what I think I could see in them.
Yeah. So we've got every man's dream, about 1,000 different sheds with different things going on. Yeah. So this is the casting shed.
Yeah, so this is where I do the moulds, and these are the terracotta heads. So that's clay that's been fired.
Right.
And then I'll make the moulds.
Yeah.
And then
cast up.
So this is a cast here, but I want to alter it, so I want to move these arms a little bit and give her a little bit more forward thrust.
Yeah.
Here's a mould. This is...
So the latex?
It's
a latex mould?
It's rubber.
Right.
Yeah, so he came out of this mould.
Yeah.
You can see. That's part of the reason I'm sort of moving towards a simpler, smoother shape.
Yeah, easier to cast up.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's the one that's finished. Like, see, they come out like that. They still need a bit of tidying up.
Yeah. Oh, we're going into another shed. Let's have a look in here. Oh,
This is meant to be
they look familiar.
woodworking shed. But it's a lot of storage.
Come back down and have a look at some of these wagons in a bit. You're certainly utilising the space you got anyway. Right. So is this the showroom?
No, this is just storeroom.
The storeroom. Right, okay.
There's little figures, there's a little bronze. That's a wax for a bronze. Then we've got some more wooden figures. Quite big. Then little stone figures down here.
Yeah, lovely. He's cool.
He has a spear coming through here, obviously taking it out.
There's sort of paganistic sort of like vibe going on, Mark.
Well, I just like the simplicity and of really early sculpture. Although it doesn't have the technical virtuosity, it has the emotional content that gets quite lost in a lot of more modern stuff.
Yeah.
So you actually feel it rather than intellectually seeing it.
Are you? I mean, we were talking about wagons earlier, and sometimes the simpler ones got more effective, sort of just hit you a bit more than the more. Is that similar sort of thing? You know,
there's a balance where everything is. If you can look at a wagon, you think, I can't imagine anything going on there that is going to add to it.
Yeah.
Then that's a well balanced wagon.
Yeah.
If you look at a wagon, you think, well, there's too much stuff.
Yeah.
Someone's gone past that point.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it happens with sculpture, it happens with paintings. You get to a point and you can overwork something.
Yeah.
And it just starts running away from you.
Yeah, yeah.
And the more you go, the more it starts running away.
Yeah, yeah. No.
But something that is so right, you can't imagine it being any other way.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
And that's what we're always aiming for.
Yeah. Cool. I think John says that about his painting as well. Sometimes he's had to sort of say to customers, enough, no more, we're done enough on this now. And
well, it's like it's the punctuation. If you don't have the gaps,
yes,
you don't see the high points and the low points. And if you wrote a poem, you wouldn't write it just loads of words, because it doesn't have the rhythms that you need. And it's the same with visually. You need to see space as well as busyness.
Yes.
Because one sets off the other.
I think with tattooing, we used to call the negative space was the bit that was important, the bits that you leave rather than the bits that you're tattooing.
It's like when you have a shadow, the shadow tells you as much about the form, casting the shadow.
Yes. Yeah. That's going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people. There's a whole room there of just bits of wheel, look.
Waiting to be for my attention sorted out.
You got I'm not going to comment.
I've got about 3 lifetimes.
I got one workshop I can't get in, and you've got several, so it's encouraging for me. I can go home and go, see, I'm not the only one. But yeah, these are lovely. These are really lovely. So what's this red? What is that?
That's wax.
That's just wax at the minute, is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've got so much to get done. I can't keep up with it all.
Well, that's the trouble when you get involved with gypsies, isn't it? You know, never enough hours in the day.
Yes.
And then, so you take moulds off them when they're...
Well, I'll either finish it in the wax and then have it cast in bronze.
Right.
Or I might take a mould out and then cast it in the stone.
Yeah. Cool.
It just depends. But I mean, a lot of these are just, say something like this, I could see that developed into a stone sculpture, but you move from that and it evolves into something else.
Yes.
So what you don't want to do is overwork this stage, because otherwise you'll be bored when you come to turn it into something else.
Yeah.
What you find is the initial roughing out moves really quite quickly.
Yeah.
And you think, I always liken it that you start out doing something and you're the master.
Yeah.
And as you move through it, you gradually become more and more the servant.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, that's a nice analogy. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that with a lot of things I get involved in.
So initially you feel as if you're in control.
Yeah.
And then the job starts dictating what needs to be done, and you become much more of the technician.
Yeah.
And, filing a surface. Because when you've got a profile, there is a profile that is right.
Yeah.
And you're always trying to aim to that profile where the tension in that profile, there's no weak spots.
Right.
So it has a tension.
Yeah.
Well, if you imagine sculpture is just a whole series of 360-degree profiles. So you're going round and round, trying to give tension all the way round.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to maybe just shave off the merest bit just to get that tension in that edge.
Yeah.
What you tend to find is you get one aspect that is slightly weaker, but what you really want is to get sculpture that you can go 360 degrees around and it's forever changing and is of interest.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, okay, there's another room here, Mark, with just paintings in. Are these all yours as well?
That's the painting storeroom.
Right, the painting storeroom. Oh,
Yeah,
right,
one of
okay.
them.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, everyone's got to have one of them. So, yeah, this thing about you not having a lot of time seems to be you're quite busy.
It's just like loads of stuff. These are the paintings that I do outside. So I mean, you know, if you're on a sunny day,
Yes.
it's just nice to be outside. But, I don't know. There's loads of them. Oh, that's the old chrome pier. But...
Yeah. Fantastic. So, is there anything you can't do? I mean, can you do you play instruments?
No.
Oh, that's good. That's nice to know. That's nice to know you got a room where you're making pianos or something.
No.
Right. Oh, is there another room here, Mark? Right. Oh, look. Yeah, fantastic. Oh, wow.
So these are the little bronzes
Yeah.
and some more waxes.
They're fantastic.
Oh, she's got spade.
Yeah.
More paintings here.
Take it you ain't got a television.
No.
No, I can.
I haven't got time for that.
No. Wow. So depending on your mood, you've got a room for each sort of each thing you fancy doing.
What you tend to find is the mess
Yeah.
doesn't mix. So
Yeah.
the stone dust doesn't mix with the wood dust.
Yeah.
The wood dust doesn't mix with the paint.
Yeah.
The paint doesn't mix with well, you probably do the wax, but it's not very.
Yeah.
I just
see.
found
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
more useful to
no.
try and get a space where you do each.
I think
job.
yeah. I think my missus would be in her element here with varying rooms for varying things.
You can't mix plaster with clay because it explodes in the kiln.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
everything
Yeah.
has to have a separate space. I've
Yeah.
just never got enough time to sort out each space exactly for that job.
No, right, no, fair enough. Wow. Yeah, they're lovely little. Them bronzes are lovely. So, say that again, Mark. Sorry.
This is where I mould up in fiberglass,
Right.
not fiberglass resin,
Right.
some of the carvings that I've carved.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay, so what I tend to do is, if I ever make a carving for a wagon
Yeah.
for my own amusement, I'll make a mould of it,
Yeah.
and then I've got a record of it, and then these are the moulds, you see.
Right.
So what you get out is you get like a little resin. I mean, because I have people at the bottom end want to cover their wagon in carvings.
Yeah.
If I charge them to do a wood carving, they can't afford it.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can produce these,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
a pair of them for
Yeah.
about 12, 15 quid.
So reproductions,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Well, it's so that people can make their wagons look
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
better. But, you know, you just have to file them down, don't you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, to make a little flowerette like that,
Yeah.
carve it, it's about an hour's work.
Right.
You need 4 around each window.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I again, I know the what's involved and the costs involved, and just the wood price alone, as other than your time. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I could probably do about 2 of these in a day. Carve them in wood.
Yeah.
But you're only getting 2 a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and we all started out at the same place. Can you remember the first cart you ever got was a complete shit banger, wasn't it?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But you loved it.
Yeah.
And you wanted to make it better.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone does at the beginning.
Yeah.
They start at the bottom
Yeah.
and they want to make it and get better. And as you do it,
You learn more. Yeah.
And then you start being able to say, well, I'm not so keen on that. And you improve yourself as you go into it.
Yeah, of course.
But everyone's got to start at the beginning. But for all those people at the top, you've got to have all those other people further down the
Yes.
chain
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
interested in it.
Yeah.
But if it's out of people's reach, they're never going to get started in it.
No, right, yeah. Well, what about that then? Fantastic place, real talented guy. We're going to leave this part of the video here for now because there's a whole nother section which is predominantly to do with the wagons and his carving, and Mark was kind enough to let me film him when he was working, explaining what he was doing and how he was carving, and that in itself is going to be a very interesting video. So we're going to put that up next. We're going to leave this one where it is today. I'm going to put a link in the description for Mark and the work he does, and yeah, we'll get back to it. But thanks ever so much for the views, and all the comments are really appreciated. Take care, and we'll catch you on the next video.